So today we're going to do something a little bit different that I think should be a lot of fun. And I was thinking earlier about all the different various showcase art treatments that exist with pretty much every new set now. I think it started in Throne of Eldraine, and it's in every standard set and now in some non-standard sets. And everybody has their own favorite alternate art style. It seems to vary a lot. But I thought it would be cool to kind of rank the different showcase art treatments. You can see here I've made kind of my homemade tier maker list. So we're going to look at all of the showcase art treatments, as well as a few different alternate art treatments that I think should be included as well. Some that I definitely did not include are any secret layers, because there are just simply too many of those. It would take forever to rank them all. But we're going to start off with the original showcase art treatment in Throne of Eldraine. This one, I think it's pretty cool. It was, it was the original one. It was a big deal for when they introduced this. But I think that looking at the art itself, it's pretty cool. I like how it does feel like a fairy tale theme, and it's worked into the card really nicely. It's visually appealing. I'm a big fan of this one, actually. I don't think I would rate it an S tier, but it's definitely going to be pretty high. So one thing I should say is that this is going to be my personal list, and art is subjective. So there's no definitive list for, which is the best art, because that's going to really vary a lot for each person. But for me, I'm going to put this in the A tier, I think. I like this one a lot. And another thing I should say is that I don't hate any of the art treatments. There are some that I don't like as much as others, but just because something is in the D tier doesn't mean that I hate it. It just means that I prefer the other ones more. So next up, we've got the Theros Beyond Death, Constellation art treatment. I feel like a lot of people like this one. It's pretty cool. I believe this was the second one that came after Throne of Eldraine. I could be wrong on that. But the main problem I had with these was that they were just so common. Even with Throne, it felt a little bit special to get these, but with Theros, it just, the specialness wore off so fast. But just looking at the art itself, I mean, it does fit well with the the Greek god theme and all that kind of stuff. Personally, it's not one of my favorites. I would definitely rank it below Throne, but I don't think it's bad and by any means. I'm probably going to give this a solid B. Going forward a little bit, we've got the Strixhaven Mystical Archives. This is the, I suppose, the English version, or the non-Japanese version, I should say. This one, I'm not really a big fan of this. I don't hate it by any means, but this one, it reminds me too much of the Amonkhet invocations. I think just how it's so yellow. That's the main problem I have with this, is that it is just so yellow. So like, this is a blue card, but look how much yellow is on here. And it doesn't, like, if you have one of these cards in your deck, it's just going to stick out so much. Even compared to this, like, these are both showcase art treatments, but this one just it just sticks out. And it does look cool, but it's just so hard to have any kind of cohesive feeling in your deck with these, unless it's just full of these. I'm probably going to give this one a C, I think. Once again, I don't hate it, and, it is interesting, but just it just sticks out way too much. Here's one that I like a lot, though. This is the Ikoria comic book art treatment. There were two art treatments in Ikoria. I think this was the first time that was introduced. But this is, the comic book style. I believe on the commons and uncommons there's a border, but on the mythics and possibly the rares, I'm not sure, it's full art like this, no border. This one, though, I like this one a lot. It's in the Giant Monsters set, and it goes, the comic book theme is supposed to go with that, I suppose. But just the art itself, I mean, I'm a big fan of this. I'm going to show you something. This binder I've got off to the side here. Just take a second and grab it. This was the first of the art treatments where I actually collected all of them. There's a couple missing here. One is in one of my decks. Actually, there is one that I'm missing. I don't have the Luca yet, but I do intend to get it. And then there's another page. You can't really see the full thing, but I collected those just because I like them so much. This is definitely one of my favorites. For me personally, this is going to go in the S tier. Next up, we've got the newest one, I guess, is the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. There are 2 treatments for this set also, actually. This is the, I guess it's like the rulebook design or something like that. So I'm not really big into D&D. I never really played it much. I only tried a little bit. So the main thing with these is that I feel like that it's really meant to play on nostalgia for people that did play and they saw this kind of art in the rulebooks, I guess. But for people that don't have that experience, I think it's kind of lacking a little bit. Like, once again, it does look cool. I don't hate this by any means, but it's like, to me, it's probably going to end up being either a B or a C. It's just kind of all too washed out, but like, I feel kind of weird critiquing it like that because that's the point of it, right? Like, it's supposed to look like this old art. But I'm gonna put this in a B, I suppose. This is the only one of this card art that I own, actually. I just got this to put in my Gishath deck. I feel like if I liked it more, then I would want to collect these more, but this is pretty much the only one that I have much desire to own. Next, we have the second art treatment from Ikoria. This is the Godzilla creature. So these ones were a little bit controversial because I guess it was the first time that the Wizards brought in a new IP, the Godzilla IP, to have on actual Magic cards. And this one is going to be probably different from a lot of people. My opinion will be different from a lot of people because I think these... You'll like them if you like Godzilla, but if you don't like Godzilla, chances are you might not be a fan of these. But for me personally, I like Godzilla a lot. I'm not a super fan, but I would say I'm a big casual fan, I suppose. And this is another one where I'll show you that binder again. I went even a step further with these. So with the comic book ones, I collected these all in non-foil. But for the Godzilla one, I collected all of them in foil. That's just where the Ghidorah would go. And I also got all of the Secret Lair ones, and even the Japanese ones too. So, based on that, you can probably tell that for me personally, this is going to go in an S tier. And even just looking at the art itself, I think the art works quite well. You know, it looks like a Magic card, but it's not, it's not like a huge departure because... Godzilla creatures. This could be a Magic creature if it wasn't, a Godzilla thing or you didn't know anything about it, right? So it does fit on a Magic card, and I think it looks really cool. So for me, also, this is going to go in S tier. Next up, we've got Kaldheim. This is the I'm not sure what to call this treatment. It's like the Viking Norse mythology kind of metal treatment, I suppose. This one, it's pretty cool. It's not my absolute favorite, but I do like it. This is, I got this one specifically for my Magda Commander deck. I got the foil showcase art treatment. This one I think I'm going to rank pretty highly. It does, it feels like Norse mythology inspired, right? With all of the, I suppose, like the wood carvings and whatnot. And I think it looks visually interesting. It doesn't stick out too much like this, like it does stick out, but just I feel like kind of the right amount to make it feel special, but not really alienating. This one, probably I think I'm going to give it an A. I think this one works quite well. Next up, we have the Zendikar Rising expeditions. So these are kind of a rehash of the original Zendikar expeditions. And these are some of the non-showcase treatments that I've brought in for this review, I suppose. But I felt like it was worth talking about the expeditions because it was. I feel like those are kind of the precursor to showcase art treatments. But for this one specifically, it does look cool. One thing in particular I like about these, so this is the non-foil version. I'm not sure how well you can see it on camera, but even though it's non-foil, it does have this cool extra little shiny bit on a little bit of the border. So I like that, but my problem with this is that it kind of just feels like a more soulless version of the original Zendikar expeditions. Or not original Zendikar, but the Battle for Zendikar expeditions. And so for that reason, I'm probably going to give this... I'm not going to rate it too highly. I think I'm going to give this one a B. Because, you know, it's fine, but it's just kind of a worse version of something that already exists. Here's a new one from Modern Horizons 2. So this is another set where they had two alternate art treatments. And this one... So this is the sketch treatment. And I'm not a fan of this. I don't like it. Some people like it. And you know, before it came out, I heard people saying that, you know, they look so much better in real life. But even in real life, I don't like this art treatment. It's kind of a little bit weird for me to say that because with being a sketch, I kind of feel like I should have more of an appreciation for this because by trade I'm a visual artist. I spent many years in art school. I filled up lots of sketchbooks with things like this. But to me, it just feels unfinished, which also feels weird to say because that's the point of it, right? It's supposed to look unfinished. But I don't know, it feels to me like I'm holding a lesser version of something, like a lesser version of the regular version of it. So I'm not a fan of this one at all, actually. I'm going to throw this way down in the D tier. Here's the Zendikar Rising Landfall art treatment, I think is what it is. This one is pretty cool. It's probably going to be mid to low for me, though. I don't hate it by any means, but I think a lot of these are just much better. This one, it feels too graphic designy for me, I think. Like, I think it could be a little bit slightly more organic if possible. But it does look cool. It's just, you know, like I said, I don't like it as much as these. So probably going to give it maybe a middle, right in the middle, give it a B tier. This one is another one that's semi-controversial, I suppose. Maybe not so much controversial, but some people love them and some people hate them. Wait, is that not the definition of controversy? I'm not sure. But, so, these ones I like a lot. Pretty much the only problem that I have with this is that they only exist in Japanese, and I would like to be able to read my cards, but I can't read Japanese, and many people can't, you know, in North America, so it's a little bit awkward playing with these, especially in tournaments when you need to be able to read the cards. But that aside, that's the only thing that I don't like about these cards. I like everything else, and the art specifically, these are some of my probably my favorite pieces of art on Magic cards. They look really cool, like even outside of the anime waifu factor. I chose this one specifically to display because this is my favorite one. I think this is just a really cool piece of art, and I'll bust out that binder one more time to show you. I did collect several of these in foil. I did actually intend on collecting the entire set in foil, but I started to collect these and then quickly realized how expensive they are. And I'm not sure if I'm ever going to finish that collection because some of these cards are just too expensive for what they are. Like, you'll end up paying, you know, $50 plus for a card that you're never going to play in any of your decks, so you're just buying it purely as a collector piece. But for me personally, this is also going to go in the S tier. Even just going by the art alone, I think this is, you know, far better than some of the other treatments that exist. Here's another pretty controversial one, the Amonkhet invocations. So you might be able to see this is actually just a proxy. I don't own any of these ones. I did actually pull this card in a booster pack during the pre-release, but I traded it away a long time ago. But the Amonkhet invocations, these when they came out, I mean, they were very puzzling. I want to say is probably the best word to describe it. Puzzling and I suppose alienating, because it it doesn't look like a Magic card, right? But the main problem I have with this is that, one, you can't read it, but it, you know, for a different reason than this. You can't, like, I can't read this either, but it's an actual language. This one, I can't read it because, you know, it's English, but it's just so hard to decipher. But once again, I guess that's the point, right? Because it's supposed to be like, you know, deciphering hieroglyphics. But another problem I have with these is that the art is so small. You know, I want to be able to see this art and appreciate it, but it's just so tiny on this card. And then it falls, it falls into kind of the same kind of category as the Strixhaven Mystical Archives, and that is just so yellow. All of these are just so yellow, and they stick out so much in your deck. I mean, it's probably not going to be a surprise with this one, but for me, this is going to go in the D tier. Once again, I don't hate this. I can appreciate this art. It is interesting to look at, but just as a Magic card, you know, if I have to rate all of these from best to worst, it's probably going to go in my least favorite. Here's another one, fairly recent, the Core 2021 Showcase art style. I don't even know what the word to describe this is. It's just like the Showcase art style. This is probably another one of my least favorites, actually. It looks fine, but to me, it doesn't look different enough from the regular version of the card to really feel special at all, I think. Like, it has a slightly different border, and then for some reason the mana symbols are white. But to me, it doesn't really feel special at all. It's not, you know, it's just not that different. It's fine, but probably I'm going to put this in the C tier, I think. Here's another one that's not a Showcase art treatment, but it is alternate art. This is the War of the Spark Japanese, I guess, anime Planeswalkers. This is another one where it is a proxy. And I was actually planning on buying this card, but the only problem, once again, the only problem I have with these is that they only exist in Japanese. I would like, it would be great if this art, just like this card, existed, but it was in English, because then I would be able to read it, right? Especially on a Planeswalker where, you know, a lot of the time you need to read it and see exactly what it does. But just talking about the art itself, these ones are very cool, I think. You know, they do really, really play on the anime waifu factor, but outside of that, I think they're cool also. This one in particular, I mean, there's a reason why the foil of this costs like $3,000 or whatever. I do like these. I'm not going to put it in the S tier, but I think that these probably will go in the A tier for me. I'm a pretty big fan of these, and if they weren't so expensive, I would probably want to collect them. Here's one that is probably a lot of people's favorite, the Kaladesh masterpieces, the inventions. You can see this one is also a proxy. I do have one of these, just not with me. I do have a hangerback walker that I got from a booster pack, but once again, it's not with me, so I have this proxy. But this one is really cool, and I think the reason why it works so well is because these are only on artifacts, and the whole theme of the border and the alternate art treatment is specifically for artifacts. If it was this style on an instant or sorcery, I don't think it would work that well. But, you know, it's kind of doing a disservice to look at this proxy, because when you see it in full foil, you know, the actual card, it does look even so much better than this. But this one is really cool, and I think it works particularly well with being an artifact. This one is going to go in the S tier. Next, we have the original Zendikar Rising Expeditions, once again a proxy. But, so like I was saying earlier, I feel like this is kind of just a better version of the Zendikar Rising Expeditions. They do look, you know, they look fairly similar. Not exactly the same, but I like this one better. It would look way cooler if it was the actual card in foil, but it kind of... It works well, I think, for the same reasons why this works well, is because this is designed specifically to go on only lands. So if this art treatment was on an instant or sorcery, I don't think it would work that well. But because it's on only lands, I think this works quite well. It would be nice if maybe this the text box didn't have the you know, the white overlay or whatever here, so you can see more of the art. Maybe the border could be a little bit smaller too, but still, despite that, this is a really cool art treatment, and I'm a big fan of it. This is going to go in the A tier. So there's actually only one left, and that's going to be the second art treatment from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. I'm not sure what to describe this as. I think it's like it's supposed to look like a rulebook or something. So once again, this is probably really cool for people that are into D&D and used to play it back in the day, and they probably had books that looked like this. But for anyone that does, you know, that did not have that experience, I don't, like, just looking at the art itself, I don't think it's that interesting. Like, it's kind of blah, I guess. And, you know, it's hard to critique it like that because it's supposed to look specifically something which is quite old and designed to look like this. But as a Magic card, it's just, you know, it doesn't look like a Magic card, I guess. I'm not a big fan of this one. One of the big problems I have with this is, what does this type line mean? An adventure for characters level 11 through 16. Does that relate more to the Magic card, or is it just like flavor text? You know, does levels 11 through 16 actually mean anything in relation to this card specifically? You know, I still don't know what that means, but, you know, I just like any of the others, I don't hate this. I can appreciate it for how interesting it is, but this one for me is probably going to go either in a C or D tier. Probably, I think I'm going to give this one, we'll put it in the D tier. So, you know, I don't hate it, but I like these ones way better. So I think that I got all of the showcase art treatments, as well as a few extra ones with, you know, the masterpieces and some of the, you know, the Japanese planeswalkers. I would be interested to hear what you think of this rating, because, like I said earlier, this is completely subjective. You know, this is rating the art, and art, you know, by its nature is subjective. So your list could be completely different than this. This is by no means a definitive list, but this is my preference of the different art styles that exist in Magic now. It would be interesting to revisit this, I suppose, you know, a few years later when there's like twice as many of these, or maybe even more. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you think of this and how your rating might change. But otherwise, I suppose, if you're still watching, thanks for watching. It'd be cool if you can like and subscribe. And otherwise, I'll talk to you later.